Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be testing the EYEPLUCKER essence for Wizard. Let's go.
So this is one of the essences that dropped with the Inferno 4 difficulty, and this is a main hand essence. So let's take a look at it now and see the description for this essence and what it actually does. Electrocute critical hits also shock enemies, causing them to take 4,204 damage every second for 3 seconds. Damage is increased by 90%, and then electrocute damage is increased 10% because that is an awakened slot there as well. So potentially on paper, this looks like it could be a pretty good essence. So what I've done is I've also paired it with the charged Sigma offhand. So this one, electrocute, also increases your primary attack speed by 6% for 3.2 seconds, stacking up to a maximum of 5 times. Electrocute damage is also increased 10% there from the awakened slot as well. Now the reason I swapped the offhand is because on my normal build, my offhand is blaster cast to coincide with the use of magic missile. So we're going to test this out now on the dummy. We're going to do a little burst or damage test here, and then we're also going to compare both of them in a side-by-side in a dungeon as well. So 10-second burst, we've got 12 million damage, and 6.1 million damage is coming specifically from the electrocute skill there. So we're going to swap now back to what my build was before, and we're going to just inherit the exact same essences that I had originally on this main hand and offhand as well. So we're going to go for Ice Spike on the main hand, which again works with magic missile, and we're also going to use the blaster cast essence with this. So this is what my setup normally is, and we're going to swap back to the magic missile skill as well. Might be helpful if we do that. Now the only difference is that I do have a plus 4% damage on my charm for magic missile. Now I do not have that for electrocute, unfortunately. So in theory, magic missile should come out on top because of this. And this is what we're going to see in a second. So it looks like I'm using electrocute there, but that's actually the void spark gem that's triggered. And in 10 seconds, we've got 13.9 million damage and 8.2 million damage from magic missile. So magic missile is still coming out stronger in a burst damage test by 2.2 million within 10 seconds. So that is the first part of the test we're going to do. We're now going to head into a dungeon and run these side by side to see which comes out quicker in the long run, because obviously burst damage is good in some situations. However, if you're running things like raids, dungeons, you'll need something that is more sustainable, that's going to continuously give you that damage. So as always, we're heading to my favourite dungeon for this, which is Cavern of Echoes, and we're going to test them side by side. So you can see on the left we've got magic missile, and on the right we have electrocute. Now I know someone will comment on this, so I'm going to highlight this issue now. I do get people comment whenever I do these side by sides and say, oh yeah, but you triggered your legendary gem at this point on this run and this point on the other run. I am not actually in control of when my legendary gems trigger. As you can see there on the left, my legendary gem Wolfjord triggered as soon as I entered that area without any of my skills being active. And the reason it triggered is because the health bar for Blood Rime actually popped up in that area as soon as I entered. Sometimes it does pop up, sometimes it doesn't, and you can't actually do damage to it. I think Demon Hunter is the only class that can actually do damage to it when that health bar appears, but other classes can't do damage. However, my Wolfjord did trigger instantly because of that, and I cannot control that. It's just one of those things. Normally my legendary gems will trigger obviously with skills or if I'm attacked, etc., and other times unfortunately I just cannot control it and they will just trigger on their own, like that Wolfjord did just then. So this test isn't 100% accurate, but it gives us an idea of how quickly you can run a dungeon with one build to the other. And like I mentioned, the only essences that we've swapped out are the main hand and the offhand for this. So I wanted to see the difference that this new essence makes for Wizard, and I did actually prefer using the electrocute to using the magic missile for once. Normally I always use magic missile because it is pretty powerful, but the nice thing with the electrocute, and I'm not going to do it in this video because I don't have the ultimate charged on magic missile, but once the ultimate is charged on electrocute, it does actually allow you to continue to move around, whereas magic missile doesn't do that. So you can see the difference is very slim, but electrocute here has come out on top with that new EYEPLUCKER essence. So one more thing I'm going to test at the training ground is if Vitus is actually stacking with the offhand essence that we're using for electrocute. So to check this, we're going to do a 5-second burst with the magic missile and check how many hits we get on the dummy in 5 seconds. So we got 12 hits there within 5 seconds. The reason I'm using Lightning Nova is to increase my attack speed again, as I have 3 pieces of this that increase my attack speed, but also to get Vitus to actually trigger, you need to use a buff, or you can see there, use a skill to grant a beneficial effect, and this increases the target's attack speed by 30% for 3 seconds. So that's why I'm using the Lightning Nova as well. So what I'm also going to do is a 30-second burst, and I want to check here how much sustained damage we're getting from Magic Missile, because obviously in the dungeon run, Electrocute came out on top, which suggests to me that sustained damage is higher using Electrocute than it is with Magic Missile. So we're going to do this 30-second burst here. I have also removed my charm, because the charm that I had in my build was increasing the damage for Magic Missile by 4%, whereas I don't have a charm that buffs the Electrocute at all. So, or I did make one, but it's only 2% increase. So I wanted to check here without the charm or anything like that. So in 30 seconds, we've got 15.1 million damage there from Magic Missile, as you can see on the breakdown. So we're going to swap these essences out now. We are going to check it with the original offhand for Electrocute first. So we are going to check it with the Charged Stigma offhand before we go and swap that out. So I'll show you what I might swap that out for. So we're going to swap to EYEPLUCKER on the main hand, and on the offhand we're going to go back to the Charged Stigma. There it is there. So this one, Electrocute, also increase your primary attack speed by 6% for 3.2 seconds, stacking up to a maximum of 5 times. So in theory, that should actually be increasing the attack speed quite a lot if it is stacking with Vitus. So that is what we're going to check in a second. If we don't use this, I'll swap out to Eberin's Visage. Electrocutes critical hits, immobilize enemies for 2 seconds, cannot occur on the same target more often than once every 3 seconds. With that one, it does also increase the damage by 9% and then an extra 10% from the awakened slot. So let's test this now, see if we get any more hits from Electrocute. Now that was not helpful, because as you noticed there was a big lag spike with my server. So we're going to wait a few seconds for my all of my buffs to rework, whatever it's called. I can't even think of the word. It's too early in the morning. I filmed this really early. So yeah, we're going to just wait. Cooldowns, that's what I'm thinking. We're going to wait for my skills and everything to cool down so that we have the same buffs active as we did when we first tried it. It's super annoying when you get lag spikes like that on server, especially when you're trying to test stuff. It happens quite a lot to me on our server. So let's try this again and see how many hits we get from Electrocute in 5 seconds. So in the 5 seconds, we actually only got 11 hits from this. So that suggests that the offhand is not working, because if it was working, we should have got more hits than we did with the Magic Missile. So that means that this offhand is not worth using in the build. So we're going to go back to Essence Transfer, if I can click the right goddamn button. And we're going to swap this out for the other one, the Eberin's Visage offhand instead. Obviously this is to immobilize, but there is the increased damage by 9% and then the increased damage by 10% from the awakened slot as well. So it's worth trying out this one instead. Unfortunately, there aren't many offhands for Electrocute that actually help with damage or attack speed or anything like that. And obviously, like I said, the attack speed one isn't stacking, unfortunately, with the Vitus set. So what we'll do again is we'll do a 5-second burst with this essence and see if we can get more damage from it, and see what the hits look like in 5 seconds as well. I'm also going to be interested to see if we can beat the 4.3 million damage in 5 seconds with this as well. So let's see what we get in that 5-second burst. Now there was again a slight lag spike in that 5 seconds, so that's super annoying. We did only get 9 hits as well from Electrocute, so we're going to test this again for 5 seconds and hope that we don't get another lag spike on server, because this is making it really hard to actually check if this is working. Okay, so let's reset the damage logs, and I'm just going to go straight into testing this again. So we're checking how many hits we get as well as the damage here. Thankfully no lag spikes. We actually had 12 hits with Electrocute there and 3 million damage. So not an increase on the damage with this one compared to the other essence. So this isn't actually stronger than Charged Stigma, but we do actually have faster attack speed somehow. So we are actually getting more hits from that. So we're going to test this now in a 30-second burst and see what damage we get. See if this is any stronger than the Magic Missile essences. As I mentioned, sustained damage is important, especially in dungeons, raids, anything like that where you need to keep your damage going and where you don't necessarily always have your skills active and ready to go. So let's do 30-second burst and see how this comes out on top. And then we'll once again check against Charge Stigma and see what the damage is like from that in 30 seconds to compare the two and see out of all three combinations which one comes out on top. I'm actually quite surprised by my findings so far because I would have expected the other offhand to have been weaker for the 5-second burst, simply because it's not increasing the damage. It was supposedly increasing the attack speed, which obviously didn't happen. So let's have a look now. So in 30 seconds from this combination, we've got 13.9 million damage just from the Electrocute. So let's compare that now to Electrocute and Charged Stigma offhand. Now I'm actually really intrigued to see which comes out on top here. Obviously with the first test between Magic Missile and Electrocute, we've got in the 30-second burst Magic Missile on top right now of 15.1 million damage, and Electrocute with Eberin's Visage is 13.9 million damage in the 30-second burst. So is Electrocute and Charged Stigma going to come out on top in 30 seconds? I do not know, but it's obviously already won at the speedrun in the dungeon, so there's every possibility this will be stronger. 30 seconds is up. Let's take a look at the damage log. So we've actually got 17.4 million damage from Electrocute and Charged Stigma combination. So I'm guessing that what is happening here is that your attack speed is being kept up by the Electrocute essence. So you can see here, again, looking at the description of Charged Stigma, Electrocute also increase your primary attack speed by 6% for 3.2 seconds, stacking up to a maximum of 5 times. So there's every chance that this is working while Virtus is on cooldown. Obviously, it's not always going to be completely accurate. However, I'm actually pretty interested or surprised at these findings. So yeah, EYEPLUCKER with Charged Stigma is the way to go if you're looking for increased damage and faster dungeon runs. So there's a breakdown on the screen of obviously the results that we've got from this. And yeah, as always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this video helpful, and I'll catch you in the next one.